This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one. One mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-host, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be with you this morning.
It's great to be here this morning, and we want to let folks know that we have lots of things coming up, but you're always welcome to call us and join with us in the conversation. And the number to call is 844-390-TALK. So that's 844-390-TALK.
Yeah. Whoa, here we are. Another adventure, Joan. This has been a wonderful journey with you, and I so appreciate your partnership and how we explore life and the way we both have such deep, enriched experience of life, and they're different, but they come together. And we have this wonderful time we share with our listeners, and we so enjoy being able to transverse consciousness for them, with them, and comment on it. So I'm happy to be here.
It's hilarious because as you started talking and you were talking about our journey together, and I was thinking these folks are new and they don't know who we are, all I could see was the absolutely fabulous couple. Yes, darling.
Yes. Well, before we get into all that,
we're a spiritual ab fab.
We sure are. Oh, there we go. Yes, great image. So, well, let's bring all our new listeners up to speed. Tell them a little bit who we are, but let's start with what's special. What do we do? What do you do? You're a wonderful coach. Give us some ideas.
Yes, I am, and I'm so. Janet and I, just to let folks know, is that we both are united in our perspective on consciousness, and we're completely opposite in the way that we do things. So, for instance, we are completely off script right now, and Janet is free flowing and having a wonderful time, and my inner time Nazi is having a complete meltdown. So. What the script says is the topic today is we're talking about the unique experience of unified consciousness. And you'll learn how to easily and effortlessly access this space to change your perspective, and any moment becomes an opportunity to transform your life. So Janet's already there, and I'm slowly getting there.
Oh, you are so good about keeping us together, Joan. I so value that. So I'll let you take it away, and I'll hopefully have a moment of calm.
And there's a lot of weird, strange things going on in the world today, and we're just experiencing it just as all of you are, and hopefully our unique perspective will help you navigate your life better. So Janet did start off by saying that I'm a something or other coach. I'm a conscious mastery coach, and I have been doing this energy work since 1981. It's been my day job. I have been helping people transform their lives. This is my second time around here on Contact Talk Radio. I had a show from 2009 to 2012, beginning of 2012, called Adventures in Density and Effort, and it was a lighthearted look at life on Playground Earth. I would interview leading edge authors, and I would also do psychic readings on the air. I was also a matrix practitioner at the time. So I would do all this kind of fun energy stuff. I still do fun energy stuff, but it's my own consciousness techniques that I've developed now. And Janet and I talk together about consciousness stuff, and we do have leading edge guests once or twice a month on the show, but she and I are really a full meal deal. You will have enough to knock your socks off. One show will completely transform your life, honestly. So Janet, tell them a little bit more about you.
Well, I just wanted to know that, what do we want to know? Because I do want us to get back to appreciate your sense of order. Let me see, what could I say? I've been through so much in my life, and I so appreciate our different sensibilities and sensitivities that all of us have. Each of us, we are all consciousness. We are individuals sharing in this collective experience, and the infinite variety that we each offer as ourselves adds to the whole. And what I would want to help people with is to appreciate how much we stand in judgment of ourselves and others, and in the ability as consciousness to let go of that sense of judgment, use it when you need it, and then let it go. And that life will unfold in miraculous, magical ways. And even that language there is about not appreciating the wonder that you are inside. And we'll get into that. We're gonna have, what we offer our listeners is 45, 50 minutes of being what we call in heart-centered awareness, unified consciousness, as real, as a place where life changes in a moment, and we'll help you to develop the awareness of that, but look forward to understanding that we are limited by our thoughts. So change your thoughts, life changes. And we're all about that. So we've got our timeline here, and we're already out of whack with it, I know. So
it's okay. I'll let me rein us back in, but I will comment on your comment about judgment. And so from our body level perspective, from the 3D perspective, there's judgment. It's black and white. It's good or bad. And from the perspective of consciousness, there's discernment. And well, you and I can talk more about this. In fact, you guys are up for a treat, because, in a few minutes, Janet will take us into heart space, and we will be able to discuss these things from this incredible expanded perspective of consciousness. And we want to let you know right now, steering back onto the script.
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
We want to let folks know ways to go deeper with us beyond listening to this show. We have a lot of ways to connect with us, both online and in person. I will, I'm going to step off script unusually for me, Janet, and I'll let you talk about your website first, and then I'll talk about mine.
Oh, well, my website would be Janet and Beyond, which is pretty much where we are right now, janetandbeyond.com. And, why would you want to go there? Okay. So, and, let's see. Let's see if we can do a good recovery here. See, this is what's fascinating, and this is live radio at its finest, I'm sure, is the spontaneity that shows up, especially for us, because we're tracking consciousness, which is the whole spectrum of life. And some of us are more sensitive to what all that is about. Joan and I certainly are. I know those listening out there are. And either we're more aware or less aware of that. And those mechanisms at play. So I have a website, janetandbeyond.com. If you let me see. I have no words, Joan.
Okay, so I'll that's fine. You will be talking more in the second part, so I'll talk more about these mundane details. Janet's website is janetandbeyond.com, and you can go there to see her weekly writings that she has. She has a weekly blog that she muses on. She also holds meetups twice a week in her home. So you can find out more about the consciousness playgrounds that she hosts in her home. You can find out ways to work with her because she does sessions by phone and by Skype around the world. And she has a special treat for you. It says if you sign up for her newsletter that you'll get 10 top tips, but here's a secret about Janet. She is so generous that you go there and there's actually 29 top tips for enjoying life. And this is the luxurious, wonderful thing about getting into heart space with Janet is it really is like like rafting down the river on a sunny day. She embodies this expansive experience of heart space, which is incredibly transforming.
Boy, Cameron, I won't need my commercial today. I couldn't do much better than that. Thanks, Joan. I'll try and reciprocate here.
Yeah, just we play mine over and over again. So my website is joan-newcomb.com. And I have meetups around the Puget Sound from Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, Olympia, Lakewood, Lacey sometimes. And I also have a life purpose quiz. If you want to know who you are and why you are here, go to my website and sign up, and you can have a quiz that'll give you a deeper insight. And I also have some purpose and passion programs, and I will tell you more about those coming right up. Let me see. And in 30 seconds or less, just to let you know, another way to get in deeper with us is we have a conscious conference call once a month. Thursday, June the 16th is the next one. You can find out more about it on my website, joan-newcomb.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. You can follow us on Twitter at Joan and Janet. You can follow me on Twitter at Joan Newcomb. And you can also subscribe to us on YouTube and binge listen to this show on YouTube.
Oh, you're good. You're so good, Joan. How you keep track of everything, I don't care.
Lots of caffeine.
You just are so well organized in that. I so appreciate that.
Okay, boys and girls, well, we have to stop for a commercial break, but stay tuned because Janet and I are talking about unified consciousness and heart space in a state of grace.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you're dealing with? Janet Barrett is a subtle energy empath. Feeling the energies present in your myths and language, she offers a supportive, non-judgmental viewpoint. Experience new ways to relate to and release the energies in those stories. Receive a $25 discount on your first session. Email Janet for an appointment at janetb@janetandbeyond.com. Come explore with Janet. New possibilities for a joy-filled life.
Are you ready to take a quantum leap in your life? Joan Newcomb is a conscious mastery coach who empowers you to navigate life from your own inner wisdom using energy techniques. Contact her through her website, joan-newcomb.com, and take conscious mastery of your life today. That's joan-newcomb.com. You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan. I'm along here with Janet, and we are talking about unified consciousness from heart space. What does that mean, Janet?
Yeah. Well, okay, heart-centered awareness. That's the field of unified consciousness. That's the new discussion, the new conversation, because our old definitions about spirituality and religion and God and man, etc., is really old. And it's not that it's wrong that it's old, but it's just come out of a place of more about the wounded human than it is about the delight of being, which is what consciousness is about. And you and I have crept, crawled, stumbled, found our way to this place, and in appreciation we like to share with others all the wisdom that we've gained along the way. And so one thing that's important is understanding that you are more than what you think you are. You are more than what you feel you are. And we look to the old as wonderful references, and we look to become aware of how you put it so elegantly about being outside the hologram that we've all been running. So what would your thought be about unified consciousness and heart?
Well, sweetie darling, I was back thinking about absolutely fabulous. But what you were saying about unified consciousness. Okay, so the way I would say it, and often you and I say the same things and we just use different words about it, but it is that as essence, we are consciousness. We are consciousness, and we have a narrowed, dense perspective in our physical bodies. And most of us go around our daily lives viewing things from the perspective of our body personality, which is density and effort, pain, discomfort, effort. It's really hard to get things done. My body feels really painful and uncomfortable. Things are happening to me. When we shift to the perspective of consciousness, it's expansive, it's enveloping, it's inclusive, it is accepting of everything. Life becomes an amusing game. You realize that you are creating everything down to the smallest detail. And it's not even co-creating, because co-creating is acknowledging sort of separateness in some ways. I see it as consciousness, I am creating this reality down to the smallest detail. And within this reality, then it becomes a feeling of like an online video game that you are playing with everybody else in the world, but you're actually the designer as well as all the different players.
You know, what I hear in that is, what I've come to learn is, as humans, we think in terms of limitations when we're not even aware of it. It's all about limits, and it's all about our rebellion against the limits. And so that creates a victim mentality, that creates something's more powerful than I am. It creates a lot of different kinds of feelings and considerations, and then conversations, and then misdirection and chaos and unclarity, et cetera, et cetera. And what we're talking about is understanding truly that we are the power source, and that we are making choices all the time due to those perceptual biases that we decided to embody as the human interface of consciousness, or however you might want to put that, and that I'm okay with where I am. I'm okay with what I am. I'm not into blame. I'm not into blaming myself. I'm not into blaming others about who and what I am. And
can I jump in there?
Sure.
I want to jump in there because you're using lots of wonderful words that do describe this 3D reality. They're also trigger words, and so they're going to bring up feelings for people. And I want to let folks know that usually by now we've got a topic, and it sounds like today's topic that is emerging is about perspective and shifting perspective. And so usually we come up on this with a show with some kind of juicy topic that's up in the world that has a lot of discomfort to it. And then Janet takes us into heart space, which allows us to access unified consciousness. And suddenly I don't have anything to say about that topic because it doesn't feel uncomfortable anymore. So why don't we let folks have that juicy
in on
experience?
Our secret? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. How do we
do the thing that you do?
That we all do so well. All right, everyone. So to just join along, this is really easy. All right. So right there, I've given you permission to just not worry about it. So what you want to do is, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, the part of you that can pay attention and listen will grok on this, okay? The rest of you just go out there and do whatever it is. But the part of yourself that is looking for something different is right there. So what does that mean? So we're going to access what we call heart space, heart-centered awareness. Now, heart, great word, 3 definitions. The first one is physical heart. So we all want to just bring your awareness to your physical heart. Don't even have to drop down. It doesn't have to have a sense of direction at all. Just notice your heart beating and be appreciative. What would that be like? That heart is a symbol, is telling you that you are alive. And so we are filled with gratitude and appreciation for it. So just notice that, what it's like to appreciate your heart. Okay, there's a breath. Good job. Now, second meaning of heart is emotional train. And a lot of people get triggered by the word heart because this is what they think of. So, it is just one facet. So, just notice your emotional train. Don't judge it. Just notice it. There you go. So you may have more than one emotion up and running. You may have several. You may have some you can't name. Doesn't really matter. Just allow yourself to be aware of your emotions. Don't judge. So you might see a color, you might have a feeling, you might have a symbol. Just notice. Don't be attached. Don't judge. So then the third meaning of heart, though, that's where you and I are, is core, essence of all. So just allow yourself to deepen. There is a sense of deepening. And in the deepening, there's an expansiveness that happens. And this is the field of potential, unified consciousness. This is where all of us are one. We are only bits and pieces of flotsam and jetsam of photons, light, biophotons, a little bit of mass. We are our resonances and vibrations and our stories, our patterns that are holding together. They're just information. And this is in the quantum world where we've flipped the bounds of earthly plane and the physicality that Joan's been talking about into the realm of where we were just, there we go, where you are. This is where you are. This is where we are. So this is the medium, is the field of potential. So it's the infinite sea of potential, where something isn't, where energy isn't, where it's little bits and pieces. And just notice what it feels like to be there. So this is where we track information from. This is where we can be in and look back at ourselves and observe ourselves and our emotions and our thoughts and not be attached. And this is always with us. We may not hold the awareness of it, though. We slip in and out of awareness. So this is not about a process per se, or like a meditation where you spend hours, not hours, but time in ritual and in the act of doing. This is available to us at any moment. And you're there. And it's just this conscious shift of awareness. This is, oh yeah, where is this information? And this is what we call about being authentic, about being able to hear yourself separate from all the clamor that's out there. There we go, as we drop in. Gotcha. What you got, Joan? What you noticing?
Yeah, I did. I noticed the different phases that you led us through, and when we dropped into actual heart space, which for me is like a step back and a step deeper than where you would typically go. I think when people think about accessing heart space and they drop into the heart space, they go into one of those not as deep levels that where everything is, rose-colored glasses, and it's this open heart chakra where there isn't any discernment. And when you take us into this deeper level, Janet, it really, you can feel the womb kind of, it's like yeah. going into open ocean, but you're perfectly safe. It's a warm right. Caribbean right. ocean. Right. And then the other thing I do feel is it's an expanded perspective where I do have discernment, and, it's not a good or bad thing. It's just a heightened awareness.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is warmth, support, and non-judgment. This is what grace feels like.
Yes.
And we just had group the other night, and wonderful people there. She says, "What is grace?" And so we've been monitoring that with her, because that never figured into her life. That sense that all is all right, and there's nothing to forgive, and there's nothing to forget, and there's nothing to apologize for, and there's nothing to judge, and there's just nothing except the infinite warm bath that you feel of being. And I think a lot of people don't have a sense of what that is. But it's in the center of all of us. It is in everything we are. So we're just reminding people of what they already know, but maybe haven't learned it that way. Yeah, that's good. Look how quiet. See how still it gets in the sacredness, the quiet.
Yeah. And you can have this experience whether you're driving your car, you're working in your office, you are, going to the store, the bank, or whatever. You can have this experience and interact in daily reality. I think people used to feel like you had to climb up to a high mountaintop and, wear a loincloth and be pure vegetarian or whatever in order to access this sense of inner peace. And it's just as easy and effortless as dropping into heart space. And the other thing, when you were talking about grace, is there is a transformative experience, that grace brings. When you enter into grace, it completely transforms things. And when you're viewing the world from this heart space, from this experience of consciousness, it can drop all your solidified impressions about things, and it will transform your life just simply from changing your perspective.
Well, Joan, when at that moment when you said that, I could feel the armament that was, and that in dropping it, how that softens, how it crystallized it, and how it softens. And we tend to think in terms of strong and weak and independent. And they're limiting conversations if you only allow something to be strong or weak, and where all the discernments are and the distinctions that consciousness offers us before we get to the judgment that something is strong or something is weak. And what it would be like to not have to be so hardened. And then not feel bad because we have a sense of dewy optimism, right?
That not Dewey Decimal System, Dewey optimism.
Yeah, right. And how we can look at people, the Pollyanna kind of viewpoint in life, and so much we experience as consciousness is set up as adversity, as duality. I guess in terms of quantum realm, it's duality, which is where you have oppositions, opposite. You have hot and cold, let's say. And then you have polarity, which is everything in between, because it's really about temperature. But we forget that, and we go out on our ends. And so we have all these different temperatures that are viable between absolute hot and absolute cold. And then we have what we talk about as scalar, which is where opposites come together and collapse into something new. And we're looking, consciousness is about scalar observance, where you take these hard fixed things, you find the ones that are in opposition, and you collapse it, and something new shows up. And sometimes that's the cataclysmic experience, right? If you're not being conscious in it and allowing it to be different. And you and I celebrate when we feel that shift in the moment happen, because then we're like, oh yeah, okay, we're in the flow. We are in potential. And it's really fun when you do this work and you're up close and personal with it, and you can feel the give that is inherent in potential. Potential is all about give. But it's not give when you're in the perspective of potential. It's about flow. So, you can feel that. You can actually physically feel it, which is a hoot. It's just easy.
Right. And you were saying how it can be cataclysmic for people. And if you have been clinging to your reality as solidified, it's a little bit like being a house of brick during an earthquake. And so there is no give. The the mortar just disintegrates and your brick falls apart, you know. And when you can go with the flow, when you give, then this transformation, it transforms actually. So this, it shifts, it transforms, it transmutes, it shifts into a new state of being, a new experience, because you're not solidified in your belief system. So you see people today in the world, and they're just absolutely losing their cookies. They're losing their mind. They're over and over things that other people just, you know, accept, take for granted. It's mind-blowing how many people seem to surface with belief systems, behaviors that are locked in the 1950s or the 1930s for some of them. Old paradigms of power, which is dominance and supremacy. And all of that is actually very disempowered, and it's that very, you know, I describe it as the 3D body, personality, reality, interpretation of power. When you're in heart space like this is the true access of power in the sense of empowerment, in the sense of, like the ocean is powerful, but it's expansive and it's not dominating. You are that infinite sense of power and that infinite sense of being able to consciously create your reality. There's no need to fight. If you're in fight or if you're in resistance, you're not viewing things as consciousness. You're viewing it as your little ant-sized body who's powerless over weird orange-haired people. You know, and as consciousness, you're creating this reality. You're having a whale of a time. You're totally enjoying the crazy ass, you know, what were you smoking when you're writing the script for today kind of thing. And you can shift. You know, we haven't talked about parallel universes yet. It's my favorite. It is my favorite topic. Stephen Hawking just did a really great one on Genius on that. Yeah. Really described it. So you can be having a different experience right now. And if you're feeling any resistance, if you're matching any of the things that I'm saying, just feel relax in the heart space and just release your grip on it.
I think what you've described wonderfully, how most of us hold ourselves in relationship to our world. And,
release your grip on it.
Yeah.
Release your grip on it. I hadn't finished my sentence.
What happens is there's so many variables that are possible when you, keep the conversation the same way. And I'm meaning in terms of if something feels hard, for instance. If something feels hard, then you're in something has to feel soft. Soft doesn't feel good. So if you change the discussion to, oh, well, this is just information, you can feel how the conversation you were just holding starts to fall apart. If you just bring awareness into how you're viewing things, and you bring that awareness is consciousness viewing itself in its wonderful little dance as human here, you start to change what is possible. You've just moved into the field of potential. Because if it isn't about hard or soft, what is it? And things start to change. And this is the marvelous gift of awareness. For me, it's been, this is the journey of enlightenment. It's not the journey to enlightenment. It is now.
Right.
And bringing my awareness in makes that active for me. I don't want to be wise when I die. I want to be wise now. I want to enjoy myself now. I'm really not putting out there for the future, because I think the future will take care of itself. And this is more about what we're talking about.
The future is being created.
Exactly, out of my now. So I don't have to be concerned about the future. But most of us think in terms of the future. We're not present. We're in the past, predicating our future. We miss this whole now thing. And
anything that is linear, so the body views things along a linear timeline. The body is experiencing linear reality from past to future, from young to old. And all of that is 3D perspective. And it's actually not even accurate. When you bring your body into the present moment, that's when you can feel the infinite potential that you're talking about. That's where you as consciousness can fully be embodied. And the great thing about this is that when you are fully present in this moment, which you can experience in your body, in heart space, releasing the past lets go of all of that pain and regret, all that heaviness, and releasing the future lets go of all that anxiety and fear.
There is no time or space in
consciousness, right?
As consciousness, right? So what you feel is this expansiveness, is the present. Nothing else is present. And that's what we so enjoy. That's what you're talking about, is that sense of grace. There is no time. There is no space. There are no issues. There's just this sense of being. And that's in each of us. This is what's key for everyone to remember. No matter how you are in your life, this is your truth. And it's just your level of awareness that you have of it. And remarkable things can happen, and they seem remarkable because they're so out of context to you. And so we call it remarkable. It's just every day. For me, life is a gift that I embody every day. So this is what we want people and our listeners and whoever out there to connect to. And in this field, and just notice, let's just, where's we at our time here? I didn't get my clock started. Oh, we have 5 more minutes. Okay. What is it? Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. I
floating down the river, and I've got my watch on.
I bow to you every time. What is it? What would you like to experience from this place, from within this state? And this is a state of being. We're very event based when we're coming from a 3D world. And you and I know, in working with people for as long as we have, that the event was really just outcome so often. It wasn't the beginning of something. It's usually the end of something. It's someplace in a pattern or a process. And if we had been paying attention in the moment and knew how to question, knew how to challenge, knew how to doubt ourselves in a way that was useful, because we know the mind can say anything, that things there were plenty of places where something could have happened. And that life is this unlimited amount of opportunities to show appreciation and value and understand how truly creatively powerful creatures that we each are, no matter what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you want, Joan?
Oh,
you've been doing this for so long and working with so many people.
What I was tuning into about people and going back to the relax and letting go, if you're holding on to something that is solid and real, that is of value, you can go ahead and archive it. And you haven't lost it. You don't lose that experience. It can get archived. You can store it in the cloud. It can be accessed again should you want to go back there, but you don't have to have it in your present operating system. It'll just slow you down.
Well, you know what's interesting? There is no time or space in consciousness, but we think in those terms always. But you know, it's like the other night in group. It was a woman wanted something now that she's in her 40s that had been started when she was 13. And she was totally invested in thinking now was at age 13, and it wasn't. She has lived 30 some years since then. And so she's still holding on to this old memory. and letting it dictate. And this is what we do.
Yes, the memory comes up and suddenly we're out of present time. We're back in the age we were when that happened.
Yeah.
And so the thing is as consciousness, we can be anywhere at once.
Right.
And the body can only be in present time. Mm-hmm. You can take yourself out of present time and it feels really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You won't lose that experience if you archive it, but you don't have to be operating with it. It's a little bit like having, running a historic movie across your screen when you're trying to drive your car.
Right.
It's a sure way to careen off the road. So being in the present moment allows you as consciousness to be fully aligned with your body, in your body, operating it. And within this space, there is plenty of time to get anything done. That's when time really stretches out and expands. As consciousness, you can play on that level. And when you let your old impressions be archived, you get to be fully in the moment, and it allows yourself to have that love, that acknowledgement, and all those things that you had back then. You get to have it in the present moment, which is more validating anyway.
Well, and that's the other part of it, is that we got her to she became aware of that was the one experience she had in her life of love.
Yes.
And being recognized. And I would suggest to her that she's had 30 years since then. And was that true now? And that it all started to fall apart and open up for her when she got present.
And the other thing is, there might have been other times that she was loved.
Oh, totally.
Or that she experienced love. But that memory, that emotional memory was so dominant that it was overshadowing some very, very valid experiences of love now.
We are so good.
I know.
The way
high five.
The way we set up information and recognizing it and playing with it. And humans, it's a fascinating experience. We love it all.
I had a similar experience to her when I was 15, 16 with someone that I fell in love with, and it's because they acknowledged me. And we had we went out for like 4 months, and then, very briefly a few years later. And then I reconnected with him just online back in 2003 and never got to meet him, and he died 2 months later. And that was an incredible breakthrough to experiencing him as spirit. And I got to experience that love on a level of consciousness that could never have happened in physical form. I mean, he was a nerdy, inept person in physical form. So anyway, when you can put it into perspective, then you can have something bigger than the solidified experience from 1975 or whatever. So in the present moment, in time and space, I would like to invite everyone to hold that experience of heart space that you're in. And we are going to be taking a commercial break right now. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet about unified consciousness in a state of grace right after these messages.
Are you ready to take a quantum leap in your life? Joan Newcomb is a conscious mastery coach who empowers you to navigate life from your own inner wisdom using energy techniques. Contact her through her website, joan-newcomb.com, and take conscious mastery of your life today. That's joan-newcomb.com.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you're dealing with? Janet Barrett is a subtle energy empath. Feeling the energies present in your myths and language, she offers a supportive, non-judgmental viewpoint. Experience new ways to relate to and release the energies in those stories. Receive a $25 discount on your first session. Email Janet for an appointment at janetb@janetandbeyond.com. Come explore with Janet. New possibilities for a joy-filled life.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet, and we are talking about unified consciousness and being in heart space and viewing the world differently from this space.
Yeah, all of that and more. Wow. It's gotten very quiet. I love it.
Put them all to sleep.
That's all right.
Well, this actually, we used to say don't operate heavy machinery, but we decided that you can do both things at once. But for some people, they love to bliss out. They put on our YouTube channel and they just bliss out listening to us.
Yeah, a lot of people report that they put us on before they go to bed, and so they're just working on that subliminal level, and they all feel it. So that's good information. So we just want to invite everyone. We're going to just hold this space, and that doesn't mean it has to be weighty and any of that sort of thing. This is about the lightness of being and how to take this into your everyday life. So you've given us 50 minutes here to be with us. You may be busy doing other things at the same time, but that part of you that's paying attention and is active will be present and is going to keep enjoying this state of awareness. So you just want to notice over the course of the day, or whenever you're listening to this, what is showing up. What seems easier? What do the colors seem brighter? Did you pick up a book you wouldn't have done? You're going to want to start to notice what is different. We have a tendency to always focus on what the problem is or what we think our problem is, when really that's just what it seems like. It's all very illusion based. It's just a way to direct our attention. And you want to just, what's different? Okay, I listened, and what's different? And that means you're going to have to pay attention. So that's good. And if I could notice, even though I don't think I'm noticing anything, what would that be like? Okay. So what we're saying is that awareness is happening whether you're aware of it or not.
I'm going to jump in there, Janet. I have noticed this recently. People come to my meetups. I hold meetups around the Puget Sound, and they're conscious conversations. Mm-hmm. And they won't realize this. This happens countless times, but they'll come to one meetup, and then I'll see them like a month later, and everything in their life has just has collapsed and reformed, and they have just launched into such enormous growth spaces. I just saw someone recently who had last been to one actually 3 months ago, and she was with her soulmate now, and he had been single forever, and she had been single for quite a while, and so it was, and the way it unfolded, all totally natural, but it really described to me. I mean, her reality had collapsed and reformed in amazing ways. A couple of other people have done some tremendous things too, and they didn't realize that it was because they came to a conscious conversation. We played with parallel universes. We played with being in heart space. And so it can be as graceful and as effortless as Janet describes, and it can be
tumultuous. Yes.
So, but as consciousness, you're enjoying that as well. Mm-hmm. As consciousness, you're just having a great, spiritual remodel, so to speak.
Totally. Well, let's notice. So Joan has a great blog. I have a great blog. She writes on Fridays. I write on Mondays.
We have 7 minutes to talk about this. So
yeah. So we want to just let everybody know we're not going to say come out of heart space. We're going to just allow you to see how this plays out over the course of the day, evening, night, whatever. And you get to see how you've got your information organized. So we want you to just be present. We want you to just be as you are. Take the judgment out. Take the hardness out. Take the softness out. Take anything out that you can start to understand is limiting. Seems user-friendly, but it's really not. It's a way to keep ourselves small and contained and safe and in control, et cetera, et cetera. And we're just, that's small. That's tight. And we are each expansive. And that is the nature that we fight against sometimes. And I think this is the conversation, the internal conversation people are having a lot of, is their frustration with how the world shows up out there is really a reflection of the world inside of themselves. So when you see political drama playing out, what's political in you that's in a state of drama? When you see anger playing out, what in you is angry? I mean, we really have to start owning our experience. And in that way, things can be different.
And when you own it as consciousness, it becomes a fun and effortless game. It's you don't,
it's not about beating yourself up.
I'm looking at what we have for next week's topic, and I think we covered a lot of it today. So next week on Conscious Conversations, we're going to be talking about that there are many ways to view and connect to consciousness as there are people. And we appreciate the different ways to notice consciousness. And we invite you to step outside the holographic box to expand your language and knowingness. I think in listening to us today, you have stepped outside of your holographic box. We'll be going even deeper into this. We might be sliding in another topic, Janet, that you were talking about too, in terms of letting go from the perspective of consciousness versus letting go on the physical level. We've touched, we've touched on that too today, but we're going to go even deeper into consciousness next week. We would like to invite you, please let us know what topics you'd like us to talk about. Give us any feedback from today's show, any questions that came up in your mind. You can email us at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook and message us there. It's Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. You can join the group and join the fun. You can follow us on Twitter at Joan and Janet. You can follow me on Twitter at Joan Newcomb. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And also we invite you to join us on our Conscious Conference call, which is once a month, Thursday, June 16th at 7 p.m. this month. And that is a way to get up close and personal. It's a small group experience, so maybe you don't feel like calling in on the radio and being exposed to 190 countries. You can join us in that small group experience, and we have a conversation back and forth that way and have a pretty deep, expansive experience. I also want to invite people to go to my website, which is joan-newcomb.com. You can go there and enter your email and get a life purpose quiz that tells you who you are and why you are here. You can see when my meetups are, which are around the Puget Sound in Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, University Place, Lakewood, and Olympia. You can also find out ways to work with me. I have coaching programs that you can learn to rediscover your life purpose and regain your passion. Janet, what's your website?
Oh, mine's janetandbeyond.com. And I do want to mention, everyone, take Joan's life passion course, class, quiz. There it is, quiz. Because no matter how many times you do this kind of thing, you want to invite change in your life if you want change. And, we get very almost arrogant and rigid in I did that 5 years ago. Well, you're maybe a different person now. I had so much fun doing it because it gave me a chance to reorganize and evaluate. And so please, I suggest you do that off her website. It's just good stuff. And her webinars are wonderful. So, lots of information she's always got.
Thank you. Now you have 60 seconds to tell us your website.
Okay. janetandbeyond.com. Sign up for my weekly email. I write about groups. I do groups here in Portland, Oregon area, Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can get through them on Meetup or email me at janetb@janetandbeyond.com, and you can find out more. And we can be up close and personal and feel it in person, which is always fun. The state of awareness that we hold. And I don't know. Life is just to be enjoyed. Don't we know that, Joan?
Yes.
We know that now, right?
Yes.
Check out our websites because we've got great information about ourselves, and we'll talk about that over the next coming weeks, I'm sure. So if you're going to participate over the air, which we'd love you to do, you want to think about getting in heart space. So those first 10 minutes, be sure and call us. And we'll look at those questions in reference to how it affects all of us. And then we'll be in heart space together, because you're not inclined to call when you're in heart space. But, that's what the show is about. We want to provide that space. How are we different from those other shows? Great shows out there, Joan, but what is it we want to offer?
Exactly. Thank you so much, Janet. You have been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan Newcomb. And
I'm Janet Barrett. Yeah. I was listening.
We would like to all thank you for joining us as Consciousness. We are all co-creating this experience, so no matter when you are listening to this, you have helped create today's experience. Thank you so much, and tune in next week, same time, same channels.
Goodbye, everyone.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.